on safeguarding the financial system from cyber threats. Requesting our moderator to please join us on stage, Mr. Jaspreet Singh, partner, Grant Thornton. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a huge round of applause. Come on, everybody. Let's have some energy. And requesting all our panelists to please join us on stage, Mr. Vaibhav Pandey, co-founder, I2I Funding. Mr. Ambuj Bhalla, CISO, Bharat Pay. Mr. Pranav Srivastava, CEO, Rockland Finstock. Mr. Mohit Kalra, CISO, Orix, India. Mr. Prakash Ranjan, CISO, IndiaBulls Housing Finance. And the discussion will take place on governance and management of security risk, generic security controls, fraud risk management, reconciliation mechanism, increase in digital mobile transactions, transparency and consumer protection, and card payments security. Requesting Mr. Jaspreet Singh to please take over. Thank you so much, and once again, a very warm welcome to each and everyone on stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, little difficult. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll not start till the time we hear at least some decent energy in the room. Choice is yours. You know, there's an award function after this. The chief guest is waiting outside. We've been given about 20 odd minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. Superb. Thank you. I hope, the way the organizers have planned this entire conference, kudos to them. But I hope all the people working here don't take security as the last topic in the day, right? Given whatever is happening in the world today, I hope security is not an afterthought. And the reason is, everything is getting connected, right? I saw a video on YouTube which said, how will our life look in 2040, right? And it showed that the alarm clock was connected to the car, which was connected to the petrol station, which was connected to my office lift. One small issue or a vulnerability in any of this, everything could go for a toss, right? So let's start with some introductory comments from our panelists. Please, your opening comments.
Hi everyone, I am Vaibhav Pandey, co-founder of I2I Funding. So I think, yeah, you very rightly said security being an afterthought we cannot really afford these days. I mean, think about the situation. So earlier when we thought of security or cyber security, thought that came in mind that some customer we may lose some customer data, or some customer's account may get compromised, right? Now with everybody moving to cloud or using digital services for our day-to-day operations, you may think of a situation where if I really look at the old days, you have lost your bahi khata where you have recorded all your transactions. आपने किसको कितने पैसे दिए हैं, किससे कितना वापस लेना है, वही खो गया है. आपके धंधे का जो core business जहाँ पे आपने record करा था, because everything is on cloud, right? It is not like you are maintaining a different system where you are recording all transactions and it is secured in some kind of tijori. Now, entire thing is on cloud and you have lost that. So if you want to protect your business, that is the key. I mean, cyber security is the first thing. Just like you protect your tijori with Godrej lockers and everything, this is something that you need to protect, because based on that you are going to go and do your collections.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav. Really a really interesting analogy. And that is how I tell at least all my clients to plan for cyber also, is when you design a house, you hire an architect, right? And wherever you want to put your tijori, you put special controls around it. So in your business, you identify what is most critical data and put controls around it. Ambuj, your opening comments, please.
A very good evening to all of you. I think I will resonate to what my fellow colleague has mentioned. I think cyber in today's time has to be at the core, right? What I believe is that, when I go for a nap in the night and when I wake up in the morning, all I want to see is that what changed in last 7, 8 hours, and am I impacted, right? And that always keeps me on toes, actually. And I think cyber in itself is a very evolving field, right? Businesses are becoming omnipresent, the customers, becoming omnipresent, and so is the case with the hackers, right? They are also becoming
They're always ahead of the game.
They are always ahead of the game. So how do you make, how are you one step ahead of the hackers is always there in my mind,
Superb. Thanks for the opening comments, Ambuj. I work with a lot of boards, and every board member says only one thing, saying, Jaspreet, I don't want to get up in the morning after a peaceful night and see my name in the newspaper because of a cyber attack. And unfortunately, this is happening. Pick up any business newspaper, pick up any business news channel, and once a week you will see that there is some company being splashed all over saying data breach, data breach, data breach, mirror data.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And no CISO or the board member wants to see his name in the newspaper because of a data breach. Thank you for that, Ambuj. Pranav, your opening comments, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this esteemed panel. And first, I would like to introduce my company, which is Rockland Finstock. It is an NBFC, and also we have a NBFC MFI by the name of Prayatna Microfinance. And it's been more than half of a decade where we have been in this system and catering to the poorest of the poorest sector. Data protection, like you just said, is the biggest challenge and the most important part of our businesses, because we are catering to the village level people who are creating a daily income for themselves. So it's very important from an organization perspective that we create an environment for themselves, for them, that they know whichever company they are getting lending from, they are secured on those bases, and they have that sort of a dependability on you that in the long run, once they're going to be able to grow for themselves also, they are in trustable hands. So I think that is a major part which we feel.
I think that's a very important piece. If you still look at India's demographics, tier 1, tier 2, or maybe some level of tier 3 cities are very good in financial transactions, the entire UPI model. But after that, I think their biggest concern is security.
Exactly.
Right? If you tell them that put your money here, digitize your money, open a wallet app, I think their biggest concern is, ये कितना secure है मुझे नहीं पता. Simple, as simple as that. Right. Mohit, your initial comments, please. And especially coming from a Japanese culture.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jaspreet. So I'm Mohit, working as a CISO for Orix India. That's into NBFC space, plus we are into mobility space as well in the car rental and B2B business transport solution. So mainly we are into car leasing, #1 player in India. So that means that we are having data of most of the clients, the customers. So it is of most importance thing to us to keep the data secure, to keep the customer information secure. And like Jaspreet says, so data leakage and all those things are at most importance to us. So it's not about the fancy things, and so we have to start from the basics, and we have to make sure that all the security terminologies which were there 5 years back, 7 years back, we are following that things in the today's environment as well. So coming to a little bit of technical things, so for example, antivirus, if you spoke about. So previously it was only antivirus, but now it is little more than that. It is EDR associated with the antivirus. If you're talking about the DLP with the CASB solutions, MDM solutions, and Office 365, if for example, if you are using, then with the advanced threat protections. So each and every component which we are using before should have a more advanced level nowadays in order to keep our things secure. I will come back to that.
Seriously. Yeah. And so basically what you're saying is ABC probably remains same. But obviously you jump classes from first class to second class to third class, and now you're probably in advanced high school studies. Prakash, your initial comments, please.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I come from a banking background. I have worked in most of the banks, not most of the public sector plus private sector both. So what we were taught in banking is that banking runs on trust. Because, people puts your hard-earned money in your bank account, and what they wish is that when they want the money back, they can take it back, and nobody else other than him can fission out the money from his account. So how do you build that trust? If there is any fraud that is happening, especially if it is a tier 3 cities, people will lose the trust. I have worked in a remote area branch in Chhattisgarh, and I see that people were very hesitant to take ATM card as well, because they were not ready for that time, that, if I take an ATM card, people will withdraw money from their account. So how do you build that trust? Because now we are going to UPI, we are doing, physical, all, mobile banking transactions and all, but there are people, in tier 2, tier 3 cities who still, wants that trust to be built first, then they will go to this, digital model.
Superb, thank you. I think the most fundamental question, right? Awareness, right? So coming to you, Vaibhav, why do you think awareness plays such a critical role? And do you think there's enough awareness today from a cyber perspective?
So yeah, I mean, awareness, I would see two aspects. One, how you are keeping your employees aware about the threats and about their responsibilities. So when you are giving certain accesses to somebody, are they aware that they cannot share their credentials with anybody? Even if there is an emergency, there has to be a process around that. Because there are threats or risks involved in sharing, or in case there is an illegitimate access of the systems. So it is a continuous exercise. I mean, every day there is a new kind of threat, new kind of attacks that are being planned. So you have to keep them continuously engaged and trained about what are the new trends and how to keep guard against those things. And second aspect is, if you are into a consumer-facing business, how do you keep your consumers aware? I mean, there have been kind of frauds where people send messages to borrowers saying that, I mean, this is your loan EMI and here is the link and pay your EMI. And I mean, it would look like that the message has come from the NBFC. So keeping your customers aware at the time of giving loans and during their onward journey also, that these are the kind of threats that are coming, and how, I mean, continuously training them about those.
And that's where I think coming to Ambuj, just before I come to you.
Yeah, can I add one point here?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so on the user awareness front, so the training part, so online training that we have seen in last 3-4 years are little bit of less effective. If we have the classroom sessions once in 6 months, that will have more impact on the effectiveness part. And plus the phishing awareness once in a month or once in 3 months will add to that thing. Yeah, thank you.
But, I was coming to the awareness piece, and I'll come to you after we get Ambuj's viewpoint on that. One thing is awareness, right? But we are any which ways not the target. Their target, if today we get an SMS saying our bank account is low, or our wallet account is running low, or KYC has expired, or we've not submitted the electricity bill. 3-4 common messages that I'm sure everybody in this room would get. We know we'll not click on it. But imagine our old parents at home, somebody in tier 2, tier 3 city. So awareness, like Pranav said, it has to be all encompassing, right? We have to see, we can't get the entire country into a classroom also, right? And you will not click, I'm pretty sure you will not click on such a message, such a link, right? But masses. Question to the audience. How many people have stayed in a hotel in the last 6 months? Stayed in a hotel last 6 months, any hotel? Only one person, I can't believe it. I'm sure everybody would have stayed. What is the first thing when we do when we walk into a hotel these days? We ask for Wi-Fi password, right? And on that Wi-Fi, we do anything and everything. There is a law in India which says that the hotel records everything that you do on your Wi-Fi. How many people would know that? So, and these are the most intelligent minds in NBFC that I'm seeing in this room. If we don't know this, imagine somebody in Chhattisgarh getting a message, an old person staying at home, kids abroad, a message says, your electricity will be disconnected in 20 minutes if you don't click on this link and pay. Right, Ambuj, you mentioned about, Ambuj started talking about tools, technologies, right? It is virtually impossible to go to a meeting and not talk about AI, ML, cloud, ding, 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 new world, chat, GPT, etc. How do you think these tools and technologies will play a role in terms of the entire threat dynamics going around?
I think if if you look at the sector that I operate, the UPI transactions, right? In the last couple of years, you see that there's a sudden surge that has happened, and this has happened all because of the technology infiltration and the robust infrastructure that government is emphasizing upon, right? And see, if you look at the technology space is huge, and obviously there can be a single loophole that can create a havoc, right?
Yeah.
I may say that I have an app, and that app gets installed in a phone which is like a rooted or a malware infected, and how will my app behave to that particular instant in itself is like very scary for me to look at, right?
Even think about, yeah.
Yeah, but the point here is that good that AI has evolved and ML has creating a boom for the sector, cyber sector as well. So I think the technologies are in place where you can leverage this, you can understand the behavior, or the device behavior, or the user behavior, and then you can spin quick decisions, right?
Right. So obviously the decision making, the capability to detect attacks is increasing, but just a thought, and maybe when we come for your closing comments, we'll come to this. I think the hackers also have the same tools, right? And they are getting even more smarter, and probably they have access to much more tools than we as security professionals have. So that's maybe a food for thought we can discuss.
Sure.
Coming to you, Pranav. Again, user awareness, your viewpoint, because you work across the entire sector.
Yeah.
How do you see that evolving?
So I'll specifically talk about the MFI sector because
Yep,
that's where we come from. Altogether, we have seen that movement that the consumers, the people whom we are giving out the loans to, they aren't aware about any cyber security or even the system, what people use in terms of hacking or any kind of those tools. But overall, what we have done to safeguard these people is that we give them the loans directly into their account, but we don't give them any sort of pins or any middle options for people to access those options. And usually because they are the poorest of the poor on the village level people, so their requirement is such that they would be using it for their daily earnings which they create for themselves. So it would be maybe for a small scale loan of making a small BD shop or making bangles or things like those. So that kind of a challenge doesn't really arise, but in our part of it, we always do the basis of Aadhaar masking, which is very important for any of the details of my client shouldn't be revealed to anyone else. So in my software, they would be protected in our software itself, except that we would also be monitoring our employees, because those are also some kind of people who would be also trying to make sure that they might misuse the consumer's data and they would take the loans on their personal basis. So again, on those bases, you have to make sure that you have details of all the employees, where are they working from, and on those bases, a lot of support, even MFIN data has provided. So these things are good tools which are happening right now in this market to make sure that these problems doesn't really happen altogether in this sector itself. So there are many, many more options which are coming in, which I feel is going to be helpful to control these kind of any security threats which are going to be arising in the front.
But awareness would still be a very key challenge given the kind of people that we deal with, right?
Yeah.
Mohit, you mentioned about tools, technologies, maybe, couple of questions around B2C data that you have.
Yes.
The new Data Protection Act
Okay.
that's been passed now, right? The rules are pending. But you would have every driver's name, phone number, every customer's name, phone number. How would you explain consent to a driver?
Okay, yeah. So like you can see that in the Uber or in the Swiggy as well. So the phone number will not be passed, whether it's directly the delivery agent which is coming to you, he won't be having your phone number. So the calling will be done through app. So
Right.
that's how actually we mask the phone numbers and the data of the clients and the driver. But yes, in sometimes, if for example, a person is calling directly to driver, if is doing the SMS, or sometimes is doing a second call, then yes, the driver will have the phone number, but then it is up to the end user, the client only. Otherwise, the systems are in place, and that's how it works actually. So we are tackling the GDPR as well. So in the same way, this act will also be taken care of. And let us wait for another 1 month where the full and final things are in place and what rule we have to abide and how the penalties will be there.
Yeah.
And accordingly,
that's a problem, right? Everybody first thinks about penalties. Saying, how do I get out of the 250 crores
obviously.
and
The
think
DPO,
about saving data?
CISO and the DPOs will also think about that thing.
Yeah. Prakash, a question to you, right? And taking on from what Mohit said. A lot of customer data. Similarly, you would work with 40, 50 different vendors who would be giving different services to your organization. What about third-party risk management? How do you look at the entire ecosystem and make sure that it's not only you, but your vendors also secured enough data?
So, since I'm in NBFC as of now, but for banks, there was already a regulation by RBI.
On IT outsourcing?
This is recently come now.
For NBFCs?
For NBFC, including banks.
Yeah.
But earlier, there was separate guidance for banks on risk management for third-party vendors. It was already there. So what does the regulator want? It typically wants you to do a risk assessment of the vendor in terms of various parameters, like concentration risk. It's not that you outsource everything to a vendor, and then the vendor goes bankruptcy, and then you're gone. Secondly, if you have critical data that is stored at the vendor's premises, or vendor is processing the data or transmitting the data, how does the vendor have the information security controls in their area? How is the financial condition of the vendor? Third is, when you are onboarding a vendor, you should have a thorough check of the security controls in place, not only at the time of onboarding, but also on a frequent basis. Like RBI says, at least on an annual basis. This is, to know that what we do is that we take a SOC 2 report and we say that we are compliant, because for a compliance purpose it is done. But we should know how they are processing the data, what all access has been given to vendor. Typically, they should not have access to our data. If they have platform, they should not have access to the data. So, we should see whether the role-based access control is there or not, how the vendor is managing the data. After the vendor relationship has ended, whether they have purged the data or not as per the norms. So these all parameters has to be considered when we are doing a third-party risk assessment.
Yeah, but I can totally tell you, 99% people won't ask the last question that you asked, saying, what do you do after my contract gets over, right?
Correct.
The last panel was very beautifully moderated and spoke about moving to the cloud. How many people have a cloud exit strategy also? What happens if I want to move back to on-prem? What happens to all my data? Where does that data go and how do you delete that data? So while I come to all of you for the closing comments, one question to the audience. As privacy security professionals, I would want to ask you, do you think as Indians we are very conscious of security and privacy of our data? I see one no. I see two. That's somebody from my team only shaking their head. Guys, yes, no, simple. Somebody said yes. We are very conscious of our data. Superb. And everybody else agrees no? Because I think no. I'll give you an example. Wedding season, Delhi? Yes. Travel on the roads and you'll see jam every evening. Pick up a wedding card. You have your own phone number, name. You have 10 other phone numbers listed for your entire family. Then you have location of your house also, and you've got other details also. If you're still not convinced, travel by a train to Chandigarh. You've seen that chart that gets posted on the coach with your name, your sex, your age, and your PNR number. You pick up that PNR number and it will show you, there are apps which will show you what's the booking document that you gave while booking, whether it was your driving license, whether it was your Aadhaar. So, sorry, I think at least we are not concerned about security and privacy. As a society, individuals, yes, people like us who understand or are on that maturity journey probably, but otherwise no. Thank you. Sir, your opening comments, last one line, all of them are NBFCs, they want to start their cyber security journey. What would they do?
So the first thing is, we all talk about technology, But governance is a piece, so the NBFC should come also where they play a vital role in how the governance is done around data, around security, and overall IT governance. That's final take from my side.
Security, oversight, and IT governance.
Yes.
Superb. Mohit.
Yeah, so as we're an NBFC, we don't have the IT skills present in our offices, or because of the budget constraint or whatever thing you say. So if you're a small to mid size of organization or NBFC specifically, the 9 to 5 thing, so it is very difficult to do a 24/7 monitoring of all the logs, whichever is coming from your various devices, the fancy devices which you have put. So it is very important that you have something who is doing the 24/7 monitoring, whether it's an outsourced SOC or because they have the security, the subject matter experts. And I think in today's age, with the cost of one SME, the SOC SME, you can have your entire SOC build up. And there actually you can take the leverage of the the threat hunting or different SOAR or different technologies, which if you try in-house, it will be very difficult for you to actually try and get the better results. Thank you.
The only thing is when I go to a board, right, and there are so many boards who tell me, Jaspreet, we need a CISO. And then the next statement is, but हमारा budget ज़्यादा नहीं है. When they hire a CEO, CFO, उस time budget की कोई problem नहीं है. Only when it comes to security professionals, the budget changes.
ये किसने बोला आपको? Budget तो हमेशा issue होता है.
One attack, and I have seen one attack. I was part of a board where we were helping them. They had a ransomware attack. The company said, Jaspreet, unlimited budget, you get us out of this jail in 3 weeks, right? The budget kahan se aaya? So that's what I'm saying. One attack and you'll see the budget and all other expectations from a CISO, salary, etc. Everything moves to a very different direction, right? And that is what I think as security professionals, you should go back to your organizations and take those 3-4 public examples.
That's how we do actually for all our investments.
Pranav, 30 seconds, closing comments.
So I just feel that main part for, I think, MFIs would be that there should be more financial literacy and digital literacy in terms of how the systems work. And there are different RBI guidelines which are there. And they do different trainings, which we also had in our organization itself. So what kind of measures or what kind of frauds are there in the market? The people should be more aware, so that the next time when they are taking any kind of loans, what they should be more aware about. Those kind of trainings can be given by the organization itself to its clients. So I think that would be a major part which can be a helpful.
Excellent. I think government is still doing a lot of steps around building the digital literacy. But our problem is the size of the country, right? Not everybody has access to a TV, not everybody has access to various digital channels. Ambuj, your closing comments, please.
I think you parked one question, and I think I will build on that only. See, what hacker is making benefit of is the lacuna in the system, right?
Right.
And we all know in the digital ecosystem, we cannot be 100% remediated on vulnerabilities, right? So a hacker is building on what vulnerabilities you've unpatched, right? It could be systems, it could be patching or whatsoever. So I think it is better to understand your ecosystem in terms of what are the assets that you deal with, and define a strategy in terms of what treatment do you want to give to the assets, right? And not all assets are to be treated in similar fashion, one. Second, I think having a doing a simulation or a dry run into your environment will give you a better sense of how do you want to build your cyber strategies and be a resilient organization.
A crisis simulation, a war game kind of piece,
war game.
Right?
Yeah, it will give you
Absolutely.
a lot of it. And I think one last sentiment is that it's not just about implementing technologies, right?
Yeah.
It's all basic, right? You should invest in technology as and when needed and do risk-based investments. But I think it's better that you learn and do a lot of dry run exercises to see how do you want to implement a strategy in the organization.
Thank you. Vaibhav.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, from a layman's perspective, I would say do the basics right and prepare for the worst. So when I say do the basics right, I mean don't fall for a smaller level of attack. So I mean keep your basics right, keep the data encrypted, keep your employees aware about the kind of attacks and how to protect them, give the right accesses, do regular monitoring of what kind of use cases are there. And when I say prepare for the worst, I mean, are you ready that if you wake up in one fine day and you suddenly see your servers are gone, you have nothing left, right? Can you still recover from that situation? Do you have that kind of a BCP planning or a DR planning? You're maintaining regular backups that if everything is gone, you have alternate from where you can come back and recover. So
yeah,
that's important.
Get up in the morning, see your servers are not working, switch off your phone and go to Badrinath. Thank you so much. Last question to the audience before we end. Ambuj said this, there's nothing called 100% risk-free, right? You were alluding to that only. What's the safest computer in the world? What's the safest computer in the world? Brain. That's the first time I've heard this, but maybe that's out of syllabus for me. Disconnected, powered off. So my favorite university in the world is WhatsApp University. I read this in WhatsApp. It says the safest computer in the world, which is disconnected, powered off, put it in a box and thrown deep into the ocean. Please give a huge round of applause for all my fellow panelists. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Requesting our moderator, Mr. Jaspreet Singh, to please give the memento to all the esteemed panelists. First to Mr. Vaibhav Pandey. Next to Mr. Ambuj Bhalla. Next to Mr. Pranav Srivastava. Everyone, let's have a huge round of applause. Next to Mr. Mohit Kalra. Everyone, come on. And to Mr. Prakash Ranjan. Now requesting our organizing team to please join us on stage and present memento to Mr. Jaspreet Singh, the moderator, for the fourth panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause. Well, thank you so much. Let's proceed for a group photograph, everyone.